everybody. We're doing this again. This is the continuance. All right. Sorry, y'all. I had so many notes. I had to have a second part on this one. There was no way. I know y'all ain't sitting there 2 hours sitting there waiting to watch a daggone show. You know what I mean? I get it. It's long. So this here's episode 23, the real life James Bond, Sidney Riley, part 2. I hope y'all got your seatbelts on. Strap in on this bad boy because we're going for a ride. All right, everybody. This is part 2 of episode 23, the real James Bond, Sidney Riley. Okay? Now, we're on the part where the plot unravels. Okay? Excuse me. The plot unravels. While Allied agents militated against the Soviet regime in Petrograd and Moscow, persistent rumors swirled of an impending Allied military intervention in Russia, which would overthrow the fledgling Soviet government in favor of a new regime willing to rejoin the ongoing war against the Central Powers. On August 4th, 1918, an Allied force landed at Arkhangelsk, Russia, beginning a famous military expedition dubbed Operation Archangel. We'll have to look that one up, you guys. Maybe I'll do an episode on that alone. Its professed objective was to prevent the German Empire from obtaining Allied military supplies stored in the region. In retaliation for this incursion, the Bolsheviks raided the British diplomatic mission on August 5th, disrupting a meeting Riley had arranged between the anti-Bolshevik Latvians, UDMF officials, and Lockhart. Unperturbed by these raids, Riley conducted meetings on August 17th, 1918, between Latvian regimental leaders and liaised with Captain George Alexander Hill, a multilingual British agent operating in Russia on behalf of the Military Intelligence Directorate. Hill later described Riley as a dark, well-groomed, very foreign-looking man who had an amazing grasp of the actualities of the situation and was a man of action. Well, I guess that's good to be looked at like that. They agreed the coup would occur in the first week of September during a meeting of the Council of People's Commissars and the Moscow Soviet at the Bolshoi Theater. On August 25th, yet another meeting of Allied conspirators allegedly occurred at DeWitt Seapool's American consulate in Moscow. By this time, the Allied conspirators had organized a broad network of agents and saboteurs throughout Soviet Russia whose overarching ambition was to disrupt the nation's food supplies. Coupled with the planned military uprising in Moscow, they believed a chronic food shortage would trigger popular unrest and further undermine the Soviet authorities. In turn, the Soviets would be overthrown by a new government friendly to the Allied powers, which would renew hostilities against Kaiser Wilhelm II's German Reich. On August 28th, Riley informed Hill that he was immediately leaving Moscow for Petrograd, where he would discuss final details related to the coup with Commander Francis Cromie at the British consulate. That night, Riley had no difficulty in traveling through picket lines between Moscow and Petrograd due to his identification as a member of the Petrograd Cheka and his possession of a Cheka travel permit. On August 30th, Boris Savinkov and Maximilian Filinenko ordered a military cadet named Leonid Kenigesser, Filinenko's cousin, to shoot and kill Moisey Uritsky, head of the Petrograd Cheka. Uritsky had been the second most powerful man in the city after Grigory Zinoviev, the leader of the Petrograd Soviet, and his murder was seen as a blow to both the Cheka and the entire Bolshevik leadership. After killing Uritsky, a panicked Kenigesser sought refuge either at the English Club or at the British Mission, where Cromie resided and where Savinkov and Filinenko may have been temporarily hiding. Regardless of whether he fled to the English Club or to the British consulate, Kenigesser was compelled to leave the premises. After donning a long overcoat, He fled into the city streets where he was apprehended by Red Guards after a violent shootout. Okay. On the same day, Fanya Kaplan, a former anarchist who was now a member of the Socialist Revolutionary Party, shot and wounded Lenin as he departed the Mikkelsen Arms factory in Moscow. As Lenin exited the building and before he entered his motor car, Kaplan called out to him. When Lenin turned towards her, she fired 3 shots with a Browning pistol. One bullet narrowly missed Lenin's heart and penetrated his lung, while the other bullet lodged in his neck near the jugular vein. Wow. Due to the severity of his wounds, Lenin was not expected to survive. The attack was widely covered in the Russian press, generating much sympathy for Lenin and boosting his popularity. As a consequence of this assassination attempt, however, the meeting between Lenin and Trotsky, where the bribed soldiery would seize them on behalf of the Allies, was postponed. At this point, Riley was notified by fellow conspirator Alexander Gramatikov that the Socialist Revolutionary Party fools have struck too early. Perhaps he's right. What do you guys think? I don't know. Okay. Now we're going to go on and move on to the next thing. It's the Chekist reprisal. Okay. Although it is unknown if Kaplan either was part of the ambassador's plot or was even responsible for the assassination attempt on Lenin, the murder of Uritsky and the failed assassination of Lenin were used by Dzerzhinsky's Cheka to implicate any malcontents and foreigners in a grand conspiracy that warranted a full-scale reprisal campaign, the Red Terror. Thousands of political opponents were seized and massive executions took place across the city. At Kudinsko Field, Petrovsky Park, and the Buturki prison, all in the north of the city, as well as the Cheka headquarters at Lubyanka. The extent of the Chekist reprisal likely foiled much of the inquit plans by Cromie, Boyce, Lockhart, Riley, Savinkov, Filinenko, and other conspirators. Using lists supplied by undercover agents, the Cheka proceeded to clear out the nests of conspirators in the foreign embassies, and in doing so, they arrested key figures vital to the impending coup. On August 31st, 1918, believing Savinkov and Filinenko were hiding in the British consulate, a Cheka detachment raided the British consulate in Petrograd and killed Cromie, who put an armed resistance. Immediately prior to his death, it is possible that Cromie may have been trying to communicate with other conspirators and to give instructions to accelerate their planned coup. Before the Cheka detachment stormed the consulate, Cromie burned key correspondence pertaining to the coup. According to press reports, he made a valiant last stand on the first floor of the consulate, armed only with a revolver. In close quarters combat, he dispatched 3 Chekist soldiers before he was in turn killed and his corpse mutilated. Eyewitnesses, such as the sister-in-law of Red Cross nurse Mary Britanieva, asserted that Cromie was shot by the Cheka while retreating down the consulate's ground staircase. The Cheka detachment searched the building and with their rifle butts repelled the diplomatic staff from getting close to the corpse of Captain Cromie, while the Chekist soldiers had looted and trampled. The Cheka detachment then arrested over 40 persons who had sought refuge within the British consulate, as well as seizing weapon caches and compromising documents which they claimed implicated the consular staff in the forthcoming coup attempt. Cromie's death was publicly depicted as a measure of self-defense by the Bolshevik agents who had been forced to return his fire. Oh man, what are we doing here, you guys? I mean, what are we doing? You know? So Cromie's death was publicly depicted as a measure of self-defense by the Bolshevik agents who had been forced to return his fire. Okay? All right. Meanwhile, Lockhart was arrested by Dzerzhinsky's Cheka and transported under guard to Lubyanka prison. During a tense interview with a pistol-wielding Cheka officer, he was asked, "Do you know the Kaplan woman? And where is Riley?" When queried about the coup, Lockhart and other British nationals dismissed the mere idea as nonsense. Afterwards, Lockhart was placed in the same holding cell as Fanya Kaplan, whom their watchful Czechist jailers hoped might betray some sign of recognizing Lockhart or other British agents. However, while confined together, Kaplan showed no sign of recognition towards Lockhart or anyone else. When it became clear that Kaplan would not implicate any accomplices, she was executed in the Kremlin's Alexander Garden on September 3, 1918, with a bullet to the back of the head. Her corpse was bundled into a rusted iron barrel and set alight. Lockhart was later released and deported in exchange for Maxim Litvinov, an unofficial Soviet attaché in London, who had been arrested by the British government as a form of diplomatic reprisal. In stark contrast, the Lockhart's good fortune, imprisonment, torture to compel confession, and death were the swift rewards of many who had been implicated in the prospective coup against Lenin's government. Yelizaveta Oten, Riley's chief courier, with whom he was romantically involved, was arrested, as well as his other mistress, Olga Starzhskaya. After my God, this dude. Seriously, bro? Wow. After interrogation, Starzhskaya was imprisoned for 5 years. Yet another courier, Maria Fried, likewise was arrested at Oten's flat with an intelligence communique that she was carrying for Riley. This dude don't quit, bro. Escape from Russia. Okay, this is the next subject. Escape from Russia. Now, on September 3rd, 1918, the Pravda and Izvestaya newspapers sensationalized the aborted coup on their front pages. Outraged headlines denounced the Allied representatives and other foreigners in Moscow as Anglo-French bandits. The papers arrogated credit for the coup to Riley, and when he was identified as a key suspect, a dragnet ensued. Riley was hunted through days and nights as he had never been hunted before, and his photograph with a full description and a reward was placarded throughout the area. The Cheka raided his assumed refuge, but the elusive Riley avoided capture and met Captain Hill while in hiding. Hill later wrote that Riley, despite narrowly escaping his pursuers in both Moscow and Petrograd, was absolutely cool, calm, and collected, not in the least downhearted, and only concerned in gathering together the broken threads and starting afresh. Hill proposed that Riley escape from Russia via Ukraine to Baku using their network of British agents for safe houses and assistance. However, Riley instead chose a shorter, more dangerous route north through Petrograd and the Baltic provinces to Finland to get their reports to London as early as possible. Okay, he's trying to shit and get. He's trying to move and groove right there. With the Cheka closing in, Riley, carrying a Baltic German passport supplied by Hill, posed as a legation secretary and departed the region in a railway car reserved for the German embassy. In Kronstadt, Riley sailed by ship to Helsinki and reached Stockholm with the aid of local Baltic smugglers. He arrived unscathed in London on November the 8th. While safely in England, Riley, Lockhart, and other agents were tried in absentia before the Supreme Revolutionary Tribunal in a proceeding which opened November 25, 1918. Approximately 20 defendants faced charges in the trial, most of whom had worked for the Americans or the British in Moscow. The case was prosecuted by Nikolai Krylenko, an exponent of the theory that political considerations rather than criminal guilt should decide a case's outcome. Krylenko's case concluded on December 3, 1918, with 2 defendants sentenced to be shot and various others sentenced to terms of prison or forced labor for terms up to 5 years. Thus, the day before Riley met Sir Mansfield Smith Cumming in London for debriefing, the Russian The Russian Izvestia newspaper reported that both Riley and Lockhart had been sentenced to death in absentia by the Revolutionary Tribunal for their roles in the attempted coup of the Bolshevik government. The sentence was to be carried out immediately should either of them be apprehended on Soviet soil. This sentence would later be served on Riley when he was caught by Dzerzhinsky's OGPU in 1925. Okay, activities from 1919 to 1924. We're going to go into that. The Russian Civil War. Okay. Within a week of their return to briefing, the British Secret Intelligence Service and the Foreign Office again sent Riley and Hill to South Russia under the cover of British trade delegates. Their assignment was to uncover information about the Black Sea coast needed for the Paris Peace Conference of 1919. At that time, the region was home to a variety of anti-Bolsheviks. They traveled in the guise of British merchants while appropriate credentials provided by the Department of Overseas Trade. Over the next 6 weeks or so, Riley prepared 12 dispatches which reported on various aspects of the situation in South Russia and were delivered personally by Hill to the Foreign Office in London. Riley identified 4 principal factors in the affairs of South Russia at this time. 1. The volunteer army, the territorial or provincial governments in the Kuban, Don and Crimea, the Petlura movement in Ukraine, and the economic situation. In his opinion, the future course of events in this region would depend not only on the interaction of these factors with each other, but above all upon Allied attitude towards them. Riley advocated Allied assistance to organize South Russia into a suitable place d'armes for decisive advance against Petlerism and Bolshevism. In his opinion, the military Allied assistance required for this would be comparatively small, as proved by recent events in Odessa. Landing parties in the ports and detachments assisting volunteer army on lines of communication would probably be sufficient. Riley's reference to events in Odessa concerned the successful landing there on December 18, 1918, of troops from the French 156th Division commanded by General Boreas, who managed to wrest control of the city from the Petlurists with the assistance of a small contingent of volunteers. Urgent as the need for Allied military assistance to the volunteer army was in Riley's estimation, he regarded economic assistance for South Russia as even more pressing. Manufactured goods were so scarce in this region that he considered any moderate contribution from the Allies would have a most beneficial effect. Otherwise, apart from echoing a certain General Poole's suggestion for a British or Anglo-French commission to control merchant shipping engaged in trading activities in the Black Sea, Riley did not offer any solutions to what he called a state of general economic chaos in South Russia. Now, Riley found white officials who had been given the job of helping the Russian economy get better, helpless in coming terms with the colossal disaster which has overtaken Russia's finances, and unable to frame anything, approaching even an outline of a financial policy. But he supported their request for the Allies to print 500 million rubles of Nicholas money of all denominations for the Special Council as a matter of urgency, with the justification that although one realizes the fundamental futility of this remedy, one must agree with them that for the moment that this is the only remedy. Lack of funds was one reason offered by Riley to explain the whites' blatant inactivity in the propaganda field. They were also said to be lacking paper and printing presses needed for the preparation of propaganda material. Riley claimed that the Special Council had come to appreciate fully the benefits of propaganda. Now, final marriage. All right, let's let's jump into this. Final marriage. While on a visit to post-war Berlin in December 1922, Riley met a charming young actress named Pepita Bobadilla in the Hotel Adlon. Bobadilla was an attractive blonde falsely claimed to be from South America. Her real name was Nellie Burton, and she was the widow of Charles Haddon Chambers, a well-known British playwright. For the past several years, Bobadilla had gained notoriety both as Chambers' wife and for her stage career as a dancer. On May 18, 1923, after a whirlwind romance, Bobadilla married Riley at a civil registry office on Henrietta Street in Covent Garden, central London, with Captain Hill acting as a witness. As Riley was already married at the time, their union was bigamous. Bobadilla later described Riley as a somber individual and found it strange that he never entertained guests at their home. Except for 2 or 3 acquaintances, hardly anyone could boast of being his friend. Nevertheless, their marriage was reportedly happy as Bobadilla believed Riley to be romantic, a good companion, a man of infinite courage, and the ideal husband. Really, y'all? What? No comment on that, man. Let's jump down. We're going to go to Zinoviev scandal, all right? Y'all can put comments down below if you want on this stuff. It's up to you, man. But we're going to go to Zinoviev scandal. 1 year later, Riley was involved possibly alongside Sir Stuart Graham Menzies in the Zinoviev letter scandal. 4 days before the British general election on October 8, 1924, a Tory newspaper printed a letter purporting to originate from Grigory Zinoviev, head of the Third Communist International. The letter claimed that the planned resumption of diplomatic and trade relations by the Labour Party with Soviet Russia would indirectly hasten the overthrow of the British government. Hours later, the British Foreign Office responded to the letter with a note of protest to the Soviet government. Soviet Russia and British communists denounced the letter as a forgery by British intelligence agents, while conservative politicians and newspapers maintained that it was genuine. Recent scholarship argues that the letter was indeed a forgery. Amid the uproar following the printing of the letter and the Foreign Office protest, Ramsay MacDonald's Labour government lost the general election. According to Samuel T. Williamson, writing in the New York Times in 1926, Riley may have served as a courier to transport the forged Zinoviev letter into the UK. Now, reflecting upon these events, the journalist Winfried Ludecky posited in 1929 that Riley's role in the famous Zinoviev letter assumed a worldwide political importance, for its publication in the British press brought about the fall of the Ramsay MacDonald ministry, frustrated the realization of the proposed Anglo-Russian commercial treaty, and as a final result led to the signing of the treaties of Locarno, in virtue of which the other states of Europe presented, under the leadership of Britain, a united front against Soviet Russia. Damn, this dude is in everything. He's got his hands in every damn cookie jar. Jesus. How? Oh, man. This dude's straight up crazy. He must be suicidal or something. He got to be wackadoo up in there, man. Doing half the shit he's doing. You going into danger. You're asking for it, man. You know you're going to get lit up at one point. Anyway, but with a career with the British intelligence. Let's go on with that. All right. Now, Mansfield Cummings, most remarkable, though not his most reliable, agent was Sidney Riley, the dominating figure in the mythology of modern British espionage. Riley, it has been claimed, wielded more power, authority, and influence than any other spy, was an expert assassin by poisoning, stabbing, shooting, and throttling and possessed 11 passports and a wife to go with each. Hold on, man. What? What? Are you fucking kidding me? I'm sorry. Are you kidding me? Really? He had that many women and that many passports. Bro, what? This dude's a straight up player, man. Wow. Listen, I can't wrap my mind around this, y'all. I can't. I just can't. What? Oh my God, dude. Listen. This dude's straight up crazy. He's loco, man. He's straight up loco. Anyways, let's continue on. Sorry for that outburst, but this just some of this stuff. Even though I write it down, I might, sometimes I don't catch stuff until I start reading through, Anyways, throughout his life, Riley maintained a close yet tempestuous relationship with the British intelligence community. In 1896, he was recruited by Superintendent William Melville for the Emigre Intelligence Network of Scotland Yard's Special Branch, which we discussed that before. Through his close relationship with Melville, Riley would be employed as a secret agent for the Secret Service Bureau, which the Foreign Office created in October of 1909. In 1918, Riley began to work for MI1, an early designation for the British Secret Intelligence Service. Under Sir Mansfield Smith Cumming, he was allegedly trained by the latter organization and sent to Moscow in March of 1918 to assassinate Vladimir Ilyich Lenin, or attempt to overthrow Bolsheviks. He had to escape from the Cheka unraveled. He had to escape after the Cheka unraveled the so-called Lockhart plot against the Bolshevik government. Later biographies contain numerous tales about his espionage deeds. It has been claimed that, number one, let's get to this. In the Boer War, he masqueraded as a Russian arms merchant to spy on Dutch weapons shipments to the Boers. Number two, he obtained intelligence on Russian military defenses in Manchuria for the Kempeitai, the Japanese secret police. Number three, he procured Persian oil concessions for the British Admiralty in events surrounding the DRC concession. Number four, he infiltrated a Krupp armaments plant in pre-war Germany and stole weapon plans for the Entente powers. Number five, he seduced the wife of a Russian minister to glean information about German weapons shipments to Russia. I ain't even saying nothing, man. I'm done. Okay, number six. Where are we at now? Six. Number six. I'm sorry, y'all. I can't do this. This is just. He participated in missions of so-called German sabotage designed to draw the United States into World War I. Okay, that's number six. Number seven. He attempted to overthrow the Russian Bolshevik government and to rescue the imprisoned Romanov family. Number eight. Prior to his demise, he served as a courier to transport the forged Zinoviev letter into the United Kingdom. Yeah, he's been involved in a lot, man. This dude, man, when he jacks shit up, he jacks it up right. He goes full throttle. He don't even give a damn. He ain't hitting no brakes at all. Let's just say it how it is, man. So, British intelligence adhered to its policy of publicly saying nothing about anything. Yet Riley's espionage successes did garner indirect recognition. After a formal recommendation by Sir Mansfield C. Smith Cumming, Riley, who had received a military commission in 1917, was awarded the Military Cross on January 22, 1919, for distinguished services rendered in connection with military operations in the field. This vaguely worded citation misled later biographers such as Richard Deacon to wrongly conclude that Riley's medal was bestowed for valorous military feats against the Imperial German Army during the Great War of 1914 to 1918. However, most later biographers agree the medal was bestowed due to Riley's anti-Bolshevik operations in southern Russia. Well, I guess that would probably make sense because it's around that time after all that crap went down. You know what I mean? Who knows? I can't say for sure. If you guys know or you've looked it up or you've found out for certain, let me know. Throw it in the comments. Email me if you want to. But anyways, shit, where was I at now? I get screwed up like that. Okay. Okay. Riley's most skeptical biographer, Andrew Cook, asserts that Riley's SIS specific career has been greatly embellished as he wasn't accepted as an agent until March 15, 1918. He was then discharged in 1921 because of his tendency to be a rogue operative. Nevertheless, Cook concedes that Riley previously had been a renowned operative for Scotland Yard's Special Branch and the Secret Service Bureau, which were the early forerunners of the British intelligence community. Historian Christopher Andrew, a professor at the University of Cambridge with a focus on the history of the intelligence services, described Riley's Secret Service career overall as remarkable, though largely ineffective. Wow. One sentence. That's a... Yeah. Complimenting and also putting it down all in one sentence right there. Okay, let's go. This is... we're going to go to the execution. Okay, we're going to go to execution. All right, according to Riley's wife, Pepita Bombadilla, Riley was perpetually determined to return to Russia to see if he could not find and succor some of his friends whom he believed to be still alive. This he did in 1925 and never came back. In September 1925 in Paris, Riley met Alexander Gramatikov, White Russian general, Alexander Kutupov, and counter-espionage expert Vladimir Burtsev, and Commander Ernest Boyce from British intelligence. This assembly discussed how they could make contact with a supposedly pro-monarchist, anti-Bolshevik organization known as the Trust in Moscow. The assembly agreed that Riley should journey to Finland to explore the feasibility of yet another uprising in Russia using the Trust apparatus. However, in reality, the Trust was an elaborate counter-espionage deception created by the OGPU, the intelligence successor of the Cheka. Thus, undercover agents of the OGPU lured Riley into Bolshevik Russia, ostensibly to meet with supposed anti-communist revolutionaries. At the Soviet-Finnish border, Riley was introduced to undercover OGPU agents posing as senior Trust representatives from Moscow. One of these undercover Soviet agents, Alexander Alexandrovich Yakushev, later recalled the meeting. The first impression of Sidney Riley is unpleasant. His dark eyes expressed something biting and cruel. His lower lip drooped deeply and was too slick. The neat black hair, the demonstratively elegant suit, everything in his manner expressed something haughtily indifferent to his surroundings. Riley was brought across the border by Toivo Vaha, a former Finnish Red Guard fighter who now served the OGPU. Vaha took Riley over the Sestra River to the Soviet side and handed him to the OGPU officers. In the 1973 book, The Gulag Archipelago, Russian novelist and historian Alexander Solzhenitsyn states that Richard Ahola, a Finnish Red Guard, was a participant in the capture of the British agent Sidney Riley. In the biographical glossary appended to the latter work, Solzhenitsyn incorrectly speculates that Riley was killed while crossing the Soviet-Finnish border. After Riley crossed the Finnish border, the Soviets captured, transported, and interrogated him at Lubyanka prison. On arrival, Riley was taken to the office of Roman Pilar, a Soviet official who had arrested and ordered the execution of a close friend of Riley, Boris Savinkov, the previous year. Riley was reminded of his own death sentence by a 1918 Soviet tribunal for participation in a counter-revolutionary plot against the Bolshevik government. While Riley was being interrogated, the Soviets publicly claimed that he had been shot trying to cross the Finnish border. Whether Riley was tortured while in OGPU custody is a matter of debate by historians. Cook contends that Riley was not tortured other than psychologically through mock executions designed to shake the resolve of prisoners. During OGPU interrogation, Riley prevaricated about his personal background and maintained his charade of being a British subject born in Clonmel, Ireland, although he did not abjure his allegiance to the United Kingdom. He also did not reveal any intelligence matters. While facing such daily interrogation, Riley kept a diary in his cell of tiny, handwritten notes on cigarette papers, which he hid in the plasterwork of a cell wall. While his Soviet captors were interrogating Riley, he in turn was analyzing and documenting their techniques. The diary was a detailed record of OGPU interrogation techniques, and Riley was understandably confident that such unique documentation would, if he escaped, be of interest to the British SIS. After Riley's death, Soviet guards discovered the diary of Riley's cell, and photographic enhancements were made by OGPU technicians. Riley was executed in a forest near Moscow on Thursday, November 5th, 1925. Eyewitness Boris Guds claimed the execution was supervised by an OGPU officer, Grigory Fedulev, while another OGPU officer, Grigory Sirozkin, fired the final shot into Riley's chest. Guds also confirmed that the order to kill Riley came from Stalin directly. Within months after his execution, various outlets of the British and American press carried an obituary notice. Riley, on the 28th of September, killed near the village of Elikol, Russia, by SRU troops, Captain Sidney George Riley, MC, beloved husband of Pepita Riley. 2 months later, on January 17, 1926, the New York Times reprinted this obituary notice, and citing unnamed sources in the intelligence community, the paper asserted that Riley had been somehow involved in the still ongoing scandal of the Zinoviev letter, a fraudulent document published by the British Daily Mail newspaper a year prior. During the general election in 1924, after Riley's death, there were various rumors about his survival. Riley's wife, Pepita Bobadilla, claimed to possess evidence indicating that Riley was still alive as late as 1932. Others speculated that the unscrupulous Riley had defected to the opposition, becoming an advisor to Soviet intelligence. Despite such unfavorable rumors, the international press quickly turned Riley into a household name, lauding him as a masterful spy and chronicling his many espionage adventures with numerous embellishments. Contemporary newspapers dubbed him the greatest spy in history and the Scarlet Pimpernel of Red Russia. In May of 1931, the London Evening Standard published an illustrated serial headlined Master Spy, which sensationalized his many exploits as well as outright invented others. Wow, y'all. My God. Listen. They didn't they took him as James Bond in the movies, man. They didn't over embellish him as being a ladies' man. Not one bit. Homeboy had a woman in every country and probably every damn state. Every city along the way he traveled. I'll guarantee it. That dude, it's a damn surprise his thing ain't fell off. I mean, let's get real with it. What the hell, man? You got to give the dude credit, though. He got some brass balls. Homeboy's going across enemy lines, doing shit he ain't supposed to be doing on the daily. Like this, he ain't even playing. He's going and doing it. My God, man. Unreal. Unfreaking real. What do you guys think about this? I mean, have you guys ever heard of Sidney Riley? I bet you probably haven't. Most of you haven't. Hell, I didn't even know nothing about him until I started researching this. And I was like, my God, this is the real life James Bond right here. So what do you guys think? Throw it down in the comments. Send me an email. Let me know. If you find out anything, you dig up anything else about this dude, or anything that I didn't touch up on, or maybe something you want me to do another episode on, let me know. Let me know, you guys. But my God, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Talk about going down some rabbit holes right there. There's some other branches on this one we could have went, but man, I'm telling you what, with all the notes I had, I knew it was going to be a 2-episode shot on this one easily. I thought it might have to be a 4-episode one, but I kind of stretched these episodes a little longer than I thought I was going to. But long story short, I'm rambling on again, being crazy old me. Anyhow, me and Noodle thank all of you guys that come on in here and you watch the shows. Hopefully you enjoy it. Hopefully you learn a little bit from it. That's our goal. Excuse me. To learn something new. We can learn something new every day. We just got to get our heads out of our butt and be willing to learn something, Sharpen your mind, expand your mind, grow. It's up to you to do that. No one can do that for you. Anyways, I just wanted to tell you guys, thank you, my Trading Post family. I love you, appreciate you for all your support and love. And like I said, if you have anything you want to throw in here on comments, like, subscribe, dislike, tell me I sucked, tell me I didn't suck, whatever. I don't care. Okay? I don't take things to heart. I take criticism and I try to evolve and grow from that and learn to be a better person, or better, in this case, content creator or whatever. So you guys, it's been great. It's been fun. And this was an awesome episode. I loved it. I love this. I learned way too much on this one. My brain was fried on this one. Anyways, you guys have a great one. Live, laugh, and love. Live your life, because we're not promised tomorrow. Have a great one. Bye.